Bad Movie Beatdown. Today we're going to be reviewing Gamer. Now you must be wondering, why am I reviewing this movie if I have the poster back there? Well, after all the complaints about the Transformers poster, I just put that up there to dick with you. Gamer is part of a 2009 triple threat of bad movies featuring Gerard Butler, the others being the previously reviewed The Ugly Truth and Law-Abiding Citizen. Butler has not had a very good track record at all, with The Bounty Hunter being so bad I couldn't even make a review out of it. The film is written and directed by Neverdeen and Taylor, the duo who gave us the Crank movies. I personally wasn't really a fan of Crank. There were bits in it that I liked, but as a whole it just gave me a massive headache. The film aims to be a satire of our modern gaming and electronic society, and the concept is very similar to the Bruce Willis film released around the same time called Surrogates. Unfortunately, I wouldn't go in expecting decent satire from the people responsible for Jonah Hex and Pathology. Let's jack into the game to figure out what exactly goes wrong with Gamer. So we start in a near unspecified future where we meet Cable, played by Gerard Butler, who is in the midst of an incredibly intense battle. I can tell it's intense because both the cameraman and the editor seem to be having a fight, with extreme shaky cam angles and quick cuts, so we have no clue what the hell is going on. I get that they were trying to make it disorientating, but it helps if we follow Cable through this opening battle, and we don't. When a movie makes you want to throw up into your popcorn bucket in the first few minutes, that's not a good start. Oh yes, because if there's one thing I want to see put on film, it's the dumbass teabagging craze done by morons. It isn't even clear what the objective or point of what's going on is. Look at these two. Why are they exchanging fake money? Why are they there? Oh right, so one can be splattered with blood. Just because something is surreal or violent doesn't make it dark comedy. What's basically happening is that Cable is fighting in a real-life shooter and is being controlled by the player. The objective is basically to be first to get to the save point, which Cable achieves mostly through accident. See, if I knew that beforehand, I'd have a reason to be invested in this action sequence. In a TV station, Gina Parker Smith, played by Kyra Sedgwick, wants the reclusive Ken Castle for an interview.
Do we have the interview or don't?
Yes, we are hair close.
Bob, are you aware the castle has clocked exactly one media appearance date, and that was Walter's last interview before she died?
Stop menstruating and just tell me whether we fucking have it.
We fucking have it.
Good.
Palindromes.
This is some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard. It's like this throughout the whole movie. It's like 12-year-olds trying to be clever. It's aggressively irritating. Gina scores the interview with Castle, played by Michael C. Hall, who designs video games, where people control the bodies of other real people, such as his first game, Society. This is an extremely obvious parody of Second Life, and we'll get to that later. Castle's latest creation is Slayers, which is the game we just saw, where death row prisoners controlled by gamers fight for their freedom. They win 30 battles and they get set free. Oh, and the games are all broadcast on pay-per-view television. If that sounds familiar to you, then congratulations, you saw The Running Man. It was a much better movie.
Mr. Castle, how the hell does it work?
It begins with a single nanocell planted in the motor cortex of the brain. This cell can replicate, replacing the cells around it with perfect copies. And these copied cells contain remote access functionality.
Isn't it true that every human that undergoes this procedure will have a distinct IP address?
Similar, yeah, but control is strictly localized to the parameters of our gaming environments.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Well, to some, maybe.
Why do I get the impression that he's lying? Besides the fact that he's extraordinarily shifty. Of course, that's not the only thing futuristic about the world, as the prison proves. What just happened? Couldn't they have just had his head explode? Oh right, they did that in The Running Man. Carry on. Cable is having an emo moment, pining for his family, when a fellow prisoner, Freak, played by John Leguizamo, joins him.
27 battles, 3 to go. Nobody's ever done that, man. Nobody's ever come that close. No one's even gotten 10 games without getting their brain shot, man. Everybody but Cable.
He's the first of many recognisable actors that show up to do exactly nothing. What Cable doesn't know is that his wife, Angie, played by Amber Valletta, is completely broke and is also part of the castle mind control program in his other game, Society, which is basically an excuse for the filmmakers to show as much violence and sexual imagery as they can, often at the same time. It doesn't work as satire when you exploit the exact same things, dipshit. To really hammer the point home, Angie is being controlled by a grotesquely obese, profusely sweating gamer who gets his kicks out of seeing her be sexually humiliated. Why the hell would anyone want to volunteer for this? And bear in mind the game was devised before Castle had supreme power. Wouldn't someone be up in arms about people getting raped and exploited? Oh, and then there's a screamer attack that disconnects the players, done by resistance group Humans, led by Brother, played by Ludacris. Got any more internet memes you'd like to throw in there? How about some lolcats?
These pranks are now suspected to be the work of an elaborate and sophisticated network of programming cells spread across several countries.
That shit was fucked up.
Yeah, it was. I literally pissed myself.
Sounds like fun.
Really? Even news reporters? Apparently the future is so messed up that people act like dickheads all the time. Terrific. So it's back onto the battlefield for Cable in this vehicle designed to give people seizures.
Sandra. Quiet. My name's Sandra.
You wouldn't be awkwardly characterising yourself so that we feel bad when you die, are you? Just because someone has a name doesn't mean that counts as characterisation. I know nothing about her! If Cable survives this game, he only has 2 more to go, which means more aimless running around with no real objective in place. Background distorting like it's not a real place. Stop adding stupid effects for the sake of it, movie. Who was that? What's the point besides constant horrific violence? If you don't set the ground rules, why do we give a shit? After several minutes of grisly violence and incomprehensibility, Cable gets to the save point, winning the game. Of course, Cable is only as good as the player controlling him, and so we get to meet Simon, played by Logan Lehrman, who plays Cable in Slayers. A nice touch is that in the future, a computer takes up a whole room, even if it is completely implausible given it's only the near future.
Gay. Gay. Tardily gay.
I can tell I'm gonna like this little shit already. Oh, and he's constantly being talked to by women only interested in sex because this movie is ragingly misogynistic, including the delightful cum dumpsters. Ugh.
Now that we have your attention, here's an offer that you can't refuse.
Here we go.
50 million euros for control of Cable.
Cable's not for sale. Thank you.
That brings up a very interesting point. How did this spoiled brat get control of Cable? Did he buy him? Was he randomly selected? I don't know. The movie doesn't care about little details like that. Why would anyone want to? The whole point of the video game is that you can just pick up and play it any time you want. You know, have fun, relieve a little stress. You can't do that with flesh and blood human beings, and the rounds seem to be set by cast themselves rather than when the players want to play. It's not exactly a very plausible gaming environment, and we can't suspend our disbelief, which is a major failing for a sci-fi film. Castle obviously has no intention of setting Cable free and plans to kill him and replace him with Hackman, played by Terry Crews.
Cable's a perfect soldier. His only vulnerability is the Nanax itself, the ping, the delay between Simon's commands and Cable's ability to execute.
So why should this one be any different? Who controls him?
No one.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of the game? Oh, never mind. The humans contact Simon and tell him that they have the ability to let him talk to Cable as they play, which means that during the next battle, Simon gets very chatty.
Think about it, Cable. What an epic run, man. It's gonna suck to see it end.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, yeah, I get that for you, it's different.
Oh, shut the hell up, Percy Jackson. And he's wearing a Crank t-shirt too. Nice one, filmmakers. During the game, Cable notices that Freak is one of the extras during the game, who were put in there for absolutely no reason other than to have more people to kill. Apparently they'll be freed if they survive just one game, but that doesn't matter because they always die, just like Freak, which I guess is a bit of a bummer. He's been in 3 scenes and had 10 lines. Just because he's played by John Leguizamo doesn't mean I care. Hackman Hackman fights Cable and is about to kill him when the game ends just before he can do so.
I don't know who's behind it or why, but I was supposed to die tonight. So I could beat them, but not with you controlling me.
What the hell are you talking about?
You want to win? Turn me loose.
Why would that even be an option? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of playing a game? Angie goes to social services to try and get her daughter back, who has been adopted by a rich family.
My husband, it's not entirely true regarding his sentence. In fact, he's due to be released soon.
Your husband was charged and... He was charged and convicted of first-degree murder. I hardly consider his release, if it were to happen at all, I don't think that'd be a good thing.
When everyone in this world is so obnoxious, why should I spend any more time watching it? With the persuasion of Human's brother, Simon decides to let Cable loose for his final battle. The humans aren't just talking to Simon, however, as Trace, played by Alison Logan, another recognisable face in a tiny part, has been sneaking into prison to talk to Cable. Upon hearing the news about Simon, Cable asks to get drunk, and yes, they somehow manage to smuggle a bottle of vodka, which Cable chugs, yes, chugs down, and the game runners don't even try to confiscate it from him. Because, you know, going into a battlefield blind stinking drunk is a great idea, isn't it? The alcohol immediately takes effect because that's exactly how that works. He then goes into a car park, finds an ethanol fueled car, and pukes into the petrol tank. He even pisses into the tank. Not only is this incredibly stupid, but Cable must have an incredibly weak bladder because he only drank it 5 minutes ago. And of course, as soon as he does this, he instantly sobers up, taking control of the car to try and escape out of the game. Turns out getting rid of that hangover was piss easy!
This is a restricted area. Return to the battle zone.
I'm dead.
So he was controlling Cable from a third-person perspective? What, was there an invisible camera? Why doesn't he see out of Cable's eyes if he has control of his mind? See what I mean about establishing things? So another headache-inducing action scene occurs as Cable tries to race out the game, which he does, but a rocket explodes behind him, cutting off transmission and making the viewing audience believe that he's dead. Except that we know he's obviously still alive, as the humans inform him that his wife is in society. So that means we're going to be spending even more time in this perverse, sex-filled shock satire. Oh, deep unabiding joy.
Hi, Nika. Oh, hi. Rick Rape, right?
Rick Rape, right?
Rick Rape? Seriously? You condemn video game violence and sex, and then you call the character Rick Rape? You fucking hypocrites! And yes, that is Milo Ventimiglia playing Rick Rape. If you're wondering why, it's because he was the lead actor in previous Neverdeen and Taylor flick Pathology, and they obviously called him in as a funny cameo. With friends like that, who needs enemies? Before Fatty can get his rocks off to Angie being raped, however, Cable bursts in and breaks Rick's spine over his knee. We'll just casually ignore the fact that he was controlled by a different person and therefore has no control over his actions. Cable tries to get his wife out of society, but Hackman suddenly appears from nowhere and shoots Cable, taking Angie. Luckily, Cable was wearing a bulletproof vest. Obviously.
Go on. Do it.
This is how the filmmakers see gamers, as morbidly obese sexual deviants. It's a video game movie that hates video gamers. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Of course, this turns out to be a completely pointless cul-de-sac because Cable then immediately appears at the bottom to fight Hackman, blow his foot off, and grab Angie again. It's funny how, because she's controlled by someone else, she's been reduced to a mere object. I'm getting the distinct impression that the filmmakers aren't fans of women, or people in general for that matter. Cable, for some reason, doesn't know the way out, which only begs the question of how he got in there in the first place, and he asks the fat gamer where it is. He instead leads Cable to an S&M rave because the filmmakers are apparently on a mission to kill epileptic people. Oh, and to get more stupid, pointless shock imagery. This Second Life parody has exactly one note, that everyone is a sexual deviant, and we get the fucking point! Not to mention you seem to be getting off on it yourselves, you sick fucks. So after that nauseating, repulsive and explosive sequence, which is partly due to the content and partly due to the editing and strobe lighting, Cable finally manages to get out, and a van driven by Gina suddenly pulls up, offering them escape because she's a huge fan of Cable or some nonsense. These characters don't make sense because they have no motivation. They just do things because the plot says so. Oh, and here's another character actor showing up for a pointless borderline cameo, in this case Keith David, who shows up to interrogate Simon about Cable's escape. Wait, wasn't Keith in this earlier?
Slayers.
So he's an FBI agent who moonlights as a trailer narrator? Not to mention this plotline goes absolutely nowhere. Keith David had more to do in Against the Dark, for crying out loud. Cable takes Angie to the humans who try to disable the link in her brain, but Brother believes that Cable is keeping a valuable secret in his brain that Castle doesn't want people to know about, as Cable was a soldier who was subjected to the same technology in military experiments that was shut down before the same tech appeared being used in society. So they scan and read his brain looking for the hidden memory and discover that Cable killed his best friend because Castle made him to do it, which is how he landed in prison. Which does beg the question of why Castle kept him alive or even put him into Slayers for that matter. I know he wasn't expected to survive, but what if he did? They managed to save Angie, but Trace reveals some bad news to Cable. Castle was the one who adopted his daughter, so Cable goes to Castle's manor to settle the score. And this is where the movie has its one moment of demented genius.
I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me.
That's right, it's a musical number come action scene where Castle sends mind-controlled men after Cable whilst crooning away to Sammy Davis Jr. It's so wrong, it's actually kind of right, and it brings to mind the inspired moments of hilarity in Crank. Unfortunately, after that moment of genius, everything goes wrong. During the fight, Castle reveals that he and his men snuck into the humans' compound, thanks to Cable's link, and killed everyone. He did it with the power of seizures, apparently.
One thing even they didn't know, though, I'm wired too. I replaced 98% of my own noodles nano tissue years ago. But mine's different. It's built to send, to transmit.
I'm totally overacting this like I'm in a pantomime.
See, nanocells are real small. 1,000 times smaller than these dust particulates. You inhale it, they go to work, replicating, spreading like a virus. 6 months' time, I could have 100 million people converted.
That's right, folks. Castle has turned into a complete Saturday morning cartoon villain who wants to take over the world. Indeed! Unlike this movie, I don't like to be cliché. Hackman is under Castle's control and he sends him to fight Cable, who beats the absolute living shit out of him and kills him in seconds.
I should have let him fight for himself. Maybe he would have had a shot.
I think you're missing the point, my man.
Terrific! The only guy who could have posed a serious threat to Cable is now dead because of stupid writing. That means the only villain left is weedy Michael C. Hall, which means this climax is going to be a total non-event. Cable goes to kill Castle only to find that he has installed Directive 4 in his brain. Haven't seen that plot point before. Where's Jesse the Body Ventura when you need him?
Will you please kill him? He's pissing me off.
Luckily, Gina and Trace survive Castle's attack and hack into his system so that the confrontation between Cable and Castle is being broadcasted all over the world. Why, yes, the writers of this movie are going to be that stunningly lazy. And then, to taunt Cable, Castle rips off his shirt and starts attacking Cable while the mind control makes him unable to fight back. He also seems to be taunting the audience and their desire to see a decent finale for this piece of shit.
Lucky shot.
How did one knife produce 3 scars besides some bizarre reference to Bruce Lee for no apparent reason? With that completely unnecessary bit out of the way, Castle brings in Cable's family and tries to control Cable's mind so that he kills them. But Cable resists, and that allows Simon enough time to take control of Cable, with Castle only just managing to stop Cable. A spoiled brat in his bedroom is almost as powerful as the mastermind? What bullshit!
Look at this knife. Imagine me sticking it into your gut. Think about it. Make it real.
Oops.
Really? He He was that smart and he stabbed himself? What a dumbass! And a complete total anticlimax. And even though the broadcast started after Castle revealed his evil plan, the whole world rejoices at his death. Hurrah! His death solves all our problems! It's not like our society is screwed in many other ways! The Nanex is turned off just like that, and Cable and his family ride off into the countryside. Oh, and thank God we can roll credits. 9 minutes of them! That's right, 10% of the running time is credits! Gamer deserves to be switched off. It's a nasty, mean-spirited movie posing as satire. It condemns its target audience, gamers, for their bloodlust, then wallow in the imagery themselves with lots of shock shots for no reason in the narrative. The characters are shallow idiots with poorly written, spiteful dialogue, played by great character actors with nothing to do. The worst part of the movie is the action scenes, which are frankly incomprehensible shite, combining all the worst aspects of modern action movies. Shaky cam, poor editing, and the lack of any sort of goal. Oh, and the ending is a complete insult. Just because they were trying to make a social statement doesn't excuse them from bad filmmaking. I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere.